Hello, today we are going to look at how to multiply and divide fractions. So we're going to look at multiplying fractions first. When multiplying fractions, it's very simple. You just take all the numbers in the numerator and multiply them together. So you take all of the numbers on the top and you multiply them together. Similarly, you're going to take all the numbers on the denominator and you're going to multiply them together. If we look at this, then we're going to get x times z, which is going to give us xz, and that's going to be divided by y times t, which is yt. And that's it. Typically what I like to do is simplify. So before multiplying, if you realize there are numbers in the numerator or denominator that are factors of each other, you can reduce those down first to simplify and then solve the problem. If we look at a very simple problem, we would have 4 divided by 5 and that multiplied by 1 divided by 2. We know that 4 and 2, they share common factors, which is 2. So if we take 4 and divide it by 2, that's going to leave us with 2. And if we take 2 and divide it by 2, that's going to leave us with 1. That is going to leave us with 2 times 1, because we just go across the top here, and that's going to equal 2. And then we go across the bottom, which is 5 times 1, and that's going to be equal to 5. And that's our answer, 2/5. Now, what you could have done is not simplified and have done 4 divided by 5 multiplied by 1 divided by 2, and that's going to be equal to 4 over 10. But again, both of these are divisible by 2, and so therefore you have to simplify. So if we take 4 divided by 2, that's going to give us 2. And if we take 10 divided by 5, that's going to give us 5. These are the exact same answer. However, this, in my opinion, simplifying first was easier than simplifying at the end because we got to work with multiplying numbers that were smaller. Let's do another example. Okay, let's look at our next example. We have 1/2 multiplied by 6 over 14 multiplied by 7 over 8. So again, what we like to do is simplify first to see if we can reduce any of these numbers. We're going to multiply all the numbers in the numerator and then all of the numbers in the denominator. So we see first and foremost that 7 and 14 are factors of each other. And 7 can go into 14 2 times, which means we can divide this by 7, which gives us 1, and we can divide this by 7, which gives us 2. Because 7 times 2 is 14, and 7 times 1 is 7. So that's how we get back there. Similarly, we know that the 6 can actually go into the 18 3 times, because 3 times 6 is 18. So we can then reduce this down to 3 and reduce this to 1. After everything's simplified, that leaves us with 1 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 3, which is equal to 1 over 12. And this cannot be simplified any further. Therefore, this is our final answer. Now, what we could have done was not simplified and have went across the top. So 6 times 7 is 42. And then you would have to do 2 times 14, which is 28. 28 times 18 is 504. Now we have to find what's divisible by 42 and 504. We know that it's going to be 42 into 504 12 times, which is going to give us 1/12. By simplify it until I was able to reduce it down to 1/12, which is again why I like to reduce everything down first and then I like to multiply, because that's going to give you your reduced answer, and your reduced answer being your final answer. Okay, now that we understand how to multiply fractions, let's look at dividing fractions. Okay, when dividing fractions by each other, you have to follow one rule before you're able to proceed. And that rule states that when dividing fractions, you need to change the division sign into a multiplication sign, and then the fraction that is being divided is now being multiplied as the reciprocal. So we're going to break that down. But reciprocal means inverse. And that's just a fancy way of saying you just need to flip it upside down. So if we have 2 divided by 3, or 2/3, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. And all we did was flip it upside down. If we look at a couple more examples of reciprocals, we could have 3/7, and the reciprocal of that would be 7/3. If we have 2/6, that's really equal to 1/3, then the reciprocal would be 3. Okay? Now we look at the rest of the rule. Going over the rule again, it states that when dividing fractions, you need to change the division sign into a multiplication sign, and the fraction that was being divided is now being multiplied as the reciprocal. So what does this mean? If we have 2 divided by 3 divided by 7 divided by 3, again, our rule states that we need to change this division sign into a multiplication sign. So then let's do that. 2 divided by 3 multiplied by, so we've changed that division sign into a multiplication sign. And now the fraction that was being divided, which was this, therefore, this second term is being divided. And now when we put it as a multiple sign, we have to make sure that it's its reciprocal. From there, you can multiply the numerator and you can multiply the denominator. After we simplify, we see that these cancel out to get 1 and 1. This will simplify down to 2 divided by 7, and that is the final answer. Let's go through that one more time so we understand. If we have 2 divided by 3 divided by 7 divided by 3, and another way to write this is 2 divided by 3 divided by 7 divided by 3. These are the exact same thing. What you need to do is you need to first change the sign, and then the number that is being divided, which is this number, turns into the reciprocal, which is 3/7, with the reciprocal just meaning inverse, inverse meaning flipping it upside down. After we change this sign to multiplication and we find the inverse or reciprocal of the number that's being divided, we rewrite this as 2 divided by 3 multiplied by 3/7. Now that we understand, now this becomes just as simple as the multiplication problem. We take the numbers on the top and we multiply them together, and we take the numbers on the bottom and we multiply them together. Just as I explained before, I like to reduce first so that I can easily multiply smaller numbers. We know that 3 and 3 are divisible, so that's going to be 1 and 1. And so therefore 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 7 is 7. And 2/7 is exactly what we get. Let's look at another example. Okay, looking at our next problem, this one looks very, very complicated because it does have variables in it. However, if you need a refresher on exponent rules, I will post a video in the description below. We are going to use the exact same methodology that we used in the last problem, in that we need to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and the number that is being divided, we need to actually flip it, find its reciprocal or its inverse, and we multiply all the numbers on the top or the numerator. Similarly, we multiply all the numbers on the bottom or the denominator, and we will have our answer. What we first need to do is we need to change the sign. So we have 2x squared over 2y squared, and changing the sign, we have a multiplication in the middle, and now what we need to do is we need to find the inverse of this. And so the inverse of this, all we need to do is switch it around. So we have 10y to the 4th over 8x x to the fourth. Now this becomes our new problem, okay? What we see right now already is the 2 can be divided by the 2. We do 2 divided by 2, we're going to get 1. 2 divided by 2, we're going to get 1. If we do 10 divided by 2, we're going to get 5, because we could do 8 divided by 2, which is going to give us 4. All we're trying to do right now is simplify, and that's why we have divided all of these numbers out. So if we rewrite this so it looks a little better, we have x squared over y squared multiplied by 5y to the fourth over 4x to the fourth. Now, again, with our rules of exponents, then what we know is this can cancel out with 2 of these, and this can cancel out with 2 of those, and therefore we are left with 1 over 1 multiplied by 5y squared and divided by 4x squared. Now this can no longer be simplified, so we just need to go across the top, and we need to go across the bottom, and 5 times 1, y squared is 5y squared, and 1 times 4x squared is 4x squared, and this is our answer. Well, there you go. If you learned something, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.